Today we're doing math page 71 and 72. And our verse today reminds us, 1 Peter 5:7, cast all your anxieties upon him because he cares for you. Anytime you're worried, anytime you're scared, struggling with something, give it to the Lord. Pray to the Lord about it and let him deal with it for you. We'll go ahead and get started with class practice 1A. And in today's lesson, what we'll be doing is writing our remainders as a fraction. And so we see it being done here in our example at the top. And what they've done is taken their remainder and they put it on the top of the fraction, which is our numerator. And they take the divisor and put it on the bottom of the fraction, which is your denominator. We see that done over here as well. The remainder went on the top of the fraction as the numerator, and the divisor went on the bottom of the fraction as the denominator. Remember, to remember denominator is the number that is downstairs. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. 4 does not go into 3, so I'm going to put an X there. We're going to do our dad, mom, sister, brother, rover steps. 4 divides dad. 4 divides into 37 9 times. Now we'll do our mom's step of multiply. 4 times 9 is 36. Now we'll do our sister's step of subtract, and we get 1. Our brother's step, bring down, there's nothing to bring down, so we'll skip that step. And then it's rover, which is repeat or remainder. Here there's nothing to repeat, so it's going to be our remainder of 1. Now we're not going to write our 1, because remember we need to write our remainder as a fraction. So our 1 becomes our numerator, and our 4 over here becomes our denominator. And our answer is 9 1/4. Okay, I'll do B now. 3 does not go into 1. 3 does go into 13. 3 times 4 is 12. We're going to subtract, and we get 1. Now our remainder needs to be written as a fraction. Our 1 will go on the top, and our 3 right here will go on the bottom. And our answer is 4 1/3. C. 4 does not go into 1. 4 does go into 17. 4 times 4 is 16. We'll subtract and we get 1 again for the 3rd time in a row. So our 1 is our numerator, it's the top number of our fraction. And our 4 right here will become our denominator, our bottom number of the fraction. And our answer is 4 1/4. D. 6 does not go into 3, so we'll put an X there. 6 does go into 31. Goes in 5 times. Oops. 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract. And for the 4th time in a row, we get 1 as our remainder. So we write 1 as the numerator. And the 6 becomes our denominator. Our answer is 5 and 1/6. E. 2 does not go into 1. 2 does go into 11. 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. Go ahead and subtract. And for the 5th time in a row, we get 1 as a remainder. The 1 will go as our numerator. It will go on top. And the 2 will be our denominator. It will go on our bottom spot. And our answer is 5.5. F. 6 does not go into 2, but it does go into 25. 6 times 4 is 24. And for the 6th time in a row, we get 1 as our remainder. So 1/6. 4 and 1/6 is our answer. Seven does not go into 4, but it does go into 8 6 times. 7 times 6 is 42. And when you subtract for the first time yet, we finally get one that's not 1. It's a 6. So our remainder is a fraction. The 6 goes on top. And our 7 goes on the bottom. And our answer is 6 and 6/7. H. 5 does not go into 1. 5 does go into 16 3 times. 5 times 3 is 15. And surprise, surprise, we get 1 as our remainder. So it's going to be 3 and 1/5. Okay, let's look at number 2 now. Number 2 is telling us we need to divide and check. And this is kind of like what we did the last lesson. This is what we did the last lesson. The first step, we know that 20 does not go into 8, so I want an X above the 8. Now we know that 20 does go into 84, so the first number we put will be right there. And what I want you to do is I want you to cover up the 0 and cover up the 4. We're covering up the last numbers in both. And we're saying, how many times does 2 go into 8? Now 2 goes into 8 4 times. And so we're going to put a 4 up there. And it might be right, it might be wrong, but it will be close. So if it's not 4, it could be 3 or 5. It will be close. It might be right, it might be wrong, but it will be close. So we're going to put a 4 on top. And then we need to do 20 times 4. And when you do that, you get 80. So we're going to subtract 80 from 84, and we get 4. And here the directions didn't say to write remainder as a fraction. So we're just going to write R4. And before we circle it, we need to check it. Remember, to check it, we do 20 times 4 plus the remainder 4. So we'll do that now. 20 times 4 is 80, and plus the 4 will give us 84, and that checks. So our answer is right, 4, remainder 4. B, 30 does not go into 9. Oops. 30 does go into 96. And so in figuring out how many times it goes in it, we're going to cover up our 0, we're going to cover up our 6. We need to ask ourselves, how many times does 3 go into 9? Remember, it might be right, it might be wrong, but it will be close. 3 goes into 9 3 times. Three times 30 would give us 90. Subtract and you get 6. So we get 3, remainder 6. Now we need to check it, so we'll do our 30 times 3 gives us 90, plus our 6, and that gives us 96. So it does check. Okay, C. 50 does not go into 6, but 50 does go into 67. To figure out how many times it does, we're going to cover up our last numbers and ask ourselves, how many times does 5 go into 6? 5 goes into 6 one time. 1 times 50 would be 50. We're going to subtract. We get 17. 1, remainder 17. Let's go ahead and check it. 50 times 1 is 50, plus 17 is 67. And that number matches that number, so we are good. Checks, and we can circle our answer. into 87. 40 does not go into 8, but it does go into 87, so our first number will be there. To figure out how many times it does, we're going to cover our last numbers and ask ourselves. Oops, I need to backtrack here. And we'll go ahead and ask ourselves, how many times does 4 go into 87? Nope. How many times does 4 go into 8? It goes in 2 times. So we'll try a 2 here. And remember, it might be right, it might be wrong, but it will be close. 40 times 2 is 80. We subtract and we get 7. So we get 2, remainder 7. To check it, let's do 40 times 2. That gives us 80, plus the 7 gives us 87, and it checks. 2, remainder 7 is correct. 65 divided by 30. 30 does not go into 6. It does go into 65, so our first number will be above the 5 there. Let's cover up our last numbers and ask ourselves, how many times does 3 go into 6? Goes in 2 times. It might be right, it might be wrong, but it will be close. So we're going to put a 2. 2 times 30 is 60. We now subtract. We get 5. So we get 2, remainder 5. Now we're going to check it. 30 times 2 is 60, plus 5 is 65. And so it checks, and 2, remainder 5 is correct. All right, F. 68 divided by 20. 20 does not go into 6. 20 does go into 68. To figure out how many times, let's cover up our 0, and our 8. And ask ourselves, how many times does 2 go into 6? 2 goes into 6 3 times. So we'll put a 3 here. 3 times 20 is 60. So we go ahead and subtract. We get 8. So we have 3 remainder 8. To check our answer, let's do our 20 times 3. That gives us 60. Plus the 8 gives us 68, and so this checks. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this story problem. The supermarket sold 341 dozen eggs at $1.19 per dozen on Wednesday. What was the cost of all the eggs sold on Wednesday? And just a little review, a dozen would be 12 eggs, but that doesn't matter for this. It's saying it sold 341 dozen eggs, and each dozen that they sold was $1.19. What was the cost of all the eggs sold on Wednesday? And so what you need to do to figure this out is do your $1.19 times 341, and that will give you your answer. Okay, B, Jillian is planning to make Bible markers by cutting an 80-inch ribbon into smaller ribbons, each 10 inches long. How many smaller ribbons will she have? And so you got to figure out how many times 10 will go into 80. And it'll be that many ribbons. Okay, and to help you finish the rest, I wanted to show you some more from the other day we talked about it. More crazy laws. Look at this picture. $1,000 fine. Silly string prohibited. So if you do silly string from those dates at those times, it is illegal to possess, use, self, or distribute silly string in public areas. Whoa, they're serious about silly string wherever that's at. In Baltimore, Maryland, it is illegal to take a lion to the movies. In Minnesota, it is illegal to cross state lines with a duck on top of your head. In Marshalltown, Iowa, horses are forbidden to eat fire hydrants. In Georgia, it is illegal to sell kids to the circus. Okay, go ahead and do the rest on your own. You guys are amazing. I know you can do it. You are the smartest kids. That's interesting.